Hey y'all, it's Caitlin, and we have a brand new Funko Pop custom to get to, and we are going to be using Dustin from Stranger Things here. I think this is the Walmart exclusive. Um, but here's the thing, we don't need his head. I'm actually going to be sculpting the head for this one, so we just need his body. So to do that, we need to put Dustin in some very hot water in order to soften the head so you can pull it off. So let's play a little game. Whenever you guys can figure out who I'm making, put it in the comment section with the timestamp on it to when you figured it out, because I'm not telling you until it's completely obvious, because I think it's more fun that way. But in order to use Dustin's body, I first need to take his... That sounded so weird. But in order for the body to become useful, I need to take all the paint off of it to make it a clearer base for the paint to go on. So I'm dunking it in acetone. Please, please, please use a mask when you're using with a large amount of acetone. If you're doing it if you're just dumping a bunch in a bowl and doing it, definitely wear a mask. This stuff is extremely dangerous when it's inhaled. It really, really can be. There are people who have died from inhaling too many fumes from acetone. So definitely wear a mask if you do this. The gloves are optional. I use it because acetone dries skin out. And also if you get paint transfer, if some paint goes from the figure onto your skin, it's not going to come off with soap and water. It's going to have to come up with acetone. So I go ahead and use glove. In fact, I think some of my glove ripped sometime during this and I had to exchange. So yeah, rubber gloves and a mask is preferable. And then I just wipe it off with a paper towel and a Q-tip just to get the surface as blank as possible. And now it's time to bring out the big boy. So this is my brand new sanding tool. It's called a Dremel. You can find these in various sizes. My mom got me the bigger one. I would have preferred the smaller handheld one, but I am not going to argue because I have been wanting one of these things for so freaking long. Now I will say that I wanted to sand off Dustin's watch because the character I have doesn't have a watch. So the attachments that these came with, I got the entire kit, are all very large. They're meant for like woodworking or something like that. So the tools here are pretty large. I actually went out later the same day that I did this and got some smaller ones. But I did manage to take the majority of the watch off with this thing just being very delicate and trying my best. But yeah, that little orange tip is a very coarse sanding tip. There's a saw tip in this thing, which I have been playing with so much and I absolutely love it. But I did have to go, you'll see here in a second, I did have to come in with my older one to work with it a little bit. And I did have to stop every now and then to take some little fuzzies off because, yeah, it doesn't come off in just one chunk. The plastic just sort of spreels out. Just these little bitty spots of plastic comes off. So, yeah, those are all the attachments that comes with the blade, by the way. I came back in with this smaller sander piece. The other one is more coarse, so it's actually a little bit better. But this one just had, you know, as you can see, like a not as wide of a width to it. So it was a little bit easier to control in such a small spot. But yeah, I did have to eventually switch tools, unfortunately. But oh well. I went ahead and painted the arms white because that's the color that the arms need to be anyway. But I wanted to see what the arm looked like at that point without anything else being done to it, and that's when I realized, yeah, I need to get the nail thing out again. I was hoping I wouldn't have to use that thing after I got my Dremel, but now that I got smaller tips, I probably won't be needing that nail file one any longer anyway, though. But yeah, the nail tool still didn't get perfectly smooth, but it's definitely a lot better than what it was before it. Basically, my goal wasn't to make it perfectly smooth because it's basically impossible on something this small, even with this small of a nail tip. But I wanted it to make it unnoticeable when the paint was on. So Obviously, this took off a lot of the paint that I just tried to put on when I was testing it. So after I got that smoothed out to my liking, I went ahead and painted the arms and the legs white. Just go ahead and it looks pretty good. You can still see where the watch was if you look close up to it. But if you didn't know it was there, I honestly don't think you would notice. So I'm very, very happy with it. So I haven't used polymer clay in a little while because this stuff was hard as a freaking rock. What I ended up having to do, because now the brand I use, Sculpey, is usually very malleable, but I just had it sitting for so long. So I ended up eventually having to get some baby oil in to clean it out with. Eventually you're going to see me cleaning my desk here in just a second with a lint roller to get my glitter picked up. But I'm going to use that time to tell you guys something. So part of this project, I was wanting to show you guys all of it, but part of it didn't get recorded because I'm an idiot. But basically, this head that I need to sculpt, the character's head is a perfect sphere almost. So I was trying to get it rolled into a big ball shape. I was using Dustin's head for reference to the height that I needed for it to be proportional. And I think I did it okay job. I was trying to make it a sphere and then turn it into an almost cube shape. It's not perfect by any means, the end result, but it's good enough. I also had to make like a little wisp of hair at the top that I used by making a teardrop shape with the clay and a needle tool to make the detail spot, and then I had to make a baseball cap, which I got a small sphere, cut it in half for the actual cap part, and then a flat piece of clay to make the bill of the cap with, and you'll see it in a minute fully baked. My apologies for the bit of a jump here. You can see a couple. You can see the head is pretty much fully primed now, and the shirt has actually already been colored as well in red color because when I was doing that part, it was completely out of focus. And also, I forgot to mention right before I put the head in the oven, I put it onto the net peg of the figure just to make sure it had that indent in it where it could be connected later on. But anyway, back to this. So the head is fully primed. The head did get a crack in it, by the way. Clay can crack in the oven. So I was just hoping to paint over it enough that you wouldn't see it, and I failed for the most part. But yeah, it's good enough. It'll work good enough. But anyway, here I mixed up a special color of gray. The gray I had was very, very pale. It needed to be just a teeny bit darker, like literally just a little bit darker. So what I ended up doing was just dipping the back end of my brush into black paint and mixing it in with the gray. Again, just to make it a hair more darker. And I think I got the absolute perfect color. So I'm painting the shorts, the shoes, and the hat on top of the head with that color. Now, one thing wrong about making a custom color in a paint palette like this, you can't really save it. And I got other crap to do. So I really had to work hard the rest of painting this figure to make sure that the gray part didn't get painted over again. I failed in some parts, but I got the stray paint off with acetone because the gray paint, it dried up and I couldn't use it anymore. I need to get I need to get some more paint pots and stuff, but I have not yet. So I got palettes to work with right now. But yeah, I just put a couple coats of the gray while it was still wet. Thankfully, I just sat there and waited for it to dry, which was boring as crap. But I did it, and for, again, the shorts, the shoes, and the hat. So now I am going through and painting the top half of the head all red all the way around. And for those of you who are playing Pokemon Sword and Shield, you've probably already figured out which character I'm making prior to this step. But yes, I am making the ball guy from Pokemon Sword and Shield. So for those of you who don't know, when you play Pokemon Sword and Shield, they add this new character, which is hilarious. The dude stands in the lobby of most of the gyms, or even outside some of the gyms, and if you talk to him, he gives you a free Pokeball, and usually it's one of the Apricorn Pokeballs that was introduced in Gen 2. So, he gives you the Lure Ball, a Moon Ball, He even gives you a dream ball, which isn't one of the apricorn Pokeball. I think that's the only one that's not, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, pretty cool. He's just a very consistent figure in there. You can get his trading card at the end of the game, which is all crumpled up and stupid. But he was just a very fun. He wasn't necessarily a key character at all aspects because he was just there to give you a free Pokeball right before you challenge the gym leader. But oh my gosh, it was so hilarious when I first saw him. It was just so freaking funny. And if you go behind him and start talking to him, he'll turn around and there is like a little button on the back of his head, which is so freaking weird. So yeah, this dude just stands around with a giant Pokeball mask on, giving you out free Pokeballs to trainers. So pretty cool, honestly. And I really just wanted to go ahead and make a pop of the ball guy because it's funny. So yeah, it did take a few coats of that red to make it opaque, but yeah, this is one of my favorite pops I've made by far. So to make the black line, I went ahead and just got some regular black paint and a small brush, which I did later on. You might see here in a minute. I switched to a thicker brush, just because if you're painting like an actual Pokeball, then you want that line to be fairly small. Like it's not that big of a gap between the bottom and the top of the Pokeball. But with the ball guy, with it being like a large Pokeball on top of the dude's head, it's much more prominent. So I did have to go back and thicken that line a lot more. Now, to be fully honest, I'm very aware that the button that I put at the back of the head is way too big. But honestly, I like it that much. Because when I first had that dude turn around and I noticed that they still had the button for the Pokeball on the back of the dude's head, I laughed. Like, I figured it would just be like, a black and white ball all the way around, but no, they actually put the button on the back of the dude's head. So I wanted it to be very prominent. And it didn't look like it was sculpted onto the head of the costume for the character. Like, it looked like it was just painted on. Like, they didn't actually sculpt a button for the dude's costume. So yeah, I just went ahead and painted it on as well, or else I would have made a little molded part for the button, sorry. but yeah, I just went ahead and tried to make it as even as possible on all the corner or all the sides of it. And yeah, I honestly think it's one of my favorite parts of this entire project. So you can see that line has been rethickened now. And I did try now to go through and paint the eyes, but you're probably seeing a very prominent problem right now. Eyes on Pops are very circular. They're not, there's no other shape to them other than just, half of a sphere, pretty much. And with the ball guy, I did make it a bit more oval because I wanted it to stand out from that large black line. But eventually, I think I got it to a size that was appropriate for a pop. But yeah, I did have to go in and reshape some stuff. I think I was I think I was subconsciously, there we go, trying to base it more on the actual shape of the eyes on the mask of the ball guy, instead of making it look like a pop, which is honestly, when you don't have the eyes already molded on there, that's something really easy to forget when you're doing a Funko Pop custom. So you honestly probably need to be aware of that if you ever do start to customize your own pops. So here I am trying to just fix the eye shape. So basically, I wanted to make the eyes white anyway. So with the white paint, I made these more circular, more iconic pop shape for both of them, leaving an extremely thick, elongated outline of black, which you'll see here in a second. I just will go ahead with my little bitty blue brush here and just start painting over it. There we go. with that, because I knew if I tried to do the red on top of the black, it would take me forever. So I just make a very small outline, leaving the very small outline of the black, but covering the majority of it up. And I did try to feather out the paint so it doesn't look too noticeable, like it doesn't look like a big lump of paint was just put onto the eye, which that's something that is very, very possible when you're dealing with any type of paint. So you can see me there feathering it out just to make it more smooth so it does look like he's got like weird eyebrows going on right now. But yeah, I did have to go ahead and paint over that with the red, but I had to feather it out like that just to keep the lumps from appearing. And obviously at the bottom I just had to go through with the white and feather it out too. I didn't have to go over anything, it just needed to stay white. With the white paint I also went ahead and painted the button again, leaving a black outline around it, as well as I went ahead and painted the shoelaces on the dude's shoes white as well, give it a little bit more contrast. Not exactly the same spots of whites that's on the actual shoe of the character, but close enough. So yeah, that did take a couple coats to get opaque. So Dustin's shirt is more of a t-shirt, and the ball guy's shirt is more of a polo shirt with some buttons at the top and a collar and some outlines on the sleeves. So what I did, I went ahead and got a little bit of black and mixed it in with my red paint just to make a very, very dark red, almost brown red. And I just went ahead and just painted on the little details, including the little buttons, the little outline where the buttons would hook to, the collar, and the outline of the sleeves, using my very, 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 very smallest brush and holding my breath a little bit. But yeah, I went ahead and went all the way around the neck. Now the brush I'm using here, I've used it a couple times in videos in the past. They're actually used for nail art. A lot of the stuff that is made for manicure stuff is actually really good for painting miniatures. So if you guys can't find a paintbrush as small as you need to, look at a nail shop, like a beauty shop, or just look online under nail brushes or nail art, and you'll find a lot of better stuff for miniature painting, like Funko Pops or anything else. Under nail art category, it's way more useful than actual like. I also use the black paint with the nail brush to create, not only fix the outline around the eyes, but to create the outline of the mouth. Yes, I know there's a huge argument, do or do not put mouth on pop figures. Some pops look good with the mouth, some really, really don't. Yeah, it's just a preference thing, but Funko has put pops or mouths with blah, 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 pops with mouths in the past. And honestly, this guy didn't look like the ball guy without the mouth, so I'm imagining that this is one of those mouths like they put on like the Rick and Morty pops where it's just like printed on, not molded. So yeah, it's still accurate. Now I did make mine a little unsymmetrical, asymmetrical. So I did have to go back in and fix that a little bit. You can see me fixing it a little bit even right here. But yeah, I just went ahead and made a very thin outline for the mouth in black paint. Paint wise, the last step is just to fill in the mouth with red. I was thinking about putting some little black dots in there because you can see them on the costume for the dude to like see through and breathe. But I went ahead and just kept it a solid red color. It took a few globs of red to get it opaque. But yeah, after I got that dried, it was just using a little bit of super glue to glue the head onto the body, and a few coats of varnish, and we're done. I cannot even tell y'all how happy I am that this thing stands on its own. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. You can see the shape of the head isn't perfect. I don't care. I am so happy this thing stands up. It does wobble a little bit on the stand, but it'll stand up fine on its own. I'm so happy. And I did lie a while ago. I did paint the little circle for the button on the back of the head with my pure gray paint. So a little bit of extra paint after the mouth. But This was so much fun to make a character like this. Again, he's not a prominent character in the games, but he's just one that makes you smile. He does a little bitty dance when you're talking to him, and it's just a very cute character, and I really like it. So yeah, he just stood out to me. This is definitely one of my favorite projects so far. The last time I tried to make a pop, fully out of clay, it did not stand. This one stands, yeah, very very well on its own, and I'm honestly very proud of myself. Again, the shape of the head is a little bit off. I could care less. I could not care less about that. And I love it. What can I say? I love this pop. So anyway, guys, there is one thing I do wish was different, is that uh, obviously the bald guy is a full grown man. Dustin has a little kid body, so yeah, obviously if they had, I couldn't really find a pop of a man with shorts and a t-shirt, or else I would have used another pop, but I don't care. I'm still very happy about this. You can still totally tell who it is, and yeah, I really like it. So let me know what you guys thought of this project, and thank y'all so much for watching. Or like always, it's a community, not a competition. I'll see y'all later. Bye.